Hello everyone, this is Jack Frost with a little update for silver. Before we get into it, I want to say that I am currently doing a gold analysis 5 times a week with a video at the end of each week. If that is something you're interested in, there should be a link in the description at the bottom of this video to sign up for that at pureelliottwave.com. Overall, price has moved away from resistance, which is what the main Elliott Wave count expects. Elliott Wave first and technical analysis last. On the main Elliott Wave count, cycle wave 1 is seen to be over here, and cycle wave 2 over here, with price now moving down for cycle wave 3 within super cycle wave C of grand super cycle wave 2. For cycle wave C, there are 2 possible structures. It can either be a ending diagonal or an impulse, and as cycle wave 1 subdivides well as a 5-wave motive structure, it is expected to be an impulse. Additionally, an impulse is the most common Elliott wave structure. Cycle wave 3 is expected to be in its 3rd intermediate wave of its first primary wave. Now with minor waves 1 and 2 within intermediate wave 3 over here and here, with price now moving lower for minor wave 3, it has a target calculated at 20.57, the 1.618 Fibonacci ratio of minor wave 1. Price previously found resistance at the upper edge of this base channel drawn around supercycle degrees. It has reacted and tested the channel 3 times now with a near test here for minor wave A with an intermediate wave 2. If price moves below this Elliott channel drawn around the primary movements within cycle wave 2, there will be additional confidence for this wave count. Within cycle wave 3, no corrective movement can move above its start at 26.123. And cycle wave 3 has a target calculated at 13.89, where it would reach equality in length with cycle wave 1. Above that, super cycle wave C has a target calculated at 7.46, the 0.618 Fibonacci ratio of super cycle wave A. On the main daily chart, the end of primary wave B within cycle wave 2 just here. Cycle wave 3 has to unfold as an impulse. Minor waves 1 and 2 with an intermediate wave 3 over here and here. Minor wave 2 subdividing well as a single zigzag, and minor wave 1 a complete impulse. A base channel is drawn around the current movements from the beginning of intermediate wave 1 to the end of intermediate wave 2, with a copy on the end of intermediate wave 1. Intermediate wave 3 should break through support at the lower edge of this base channel, and if that happens, there will be added confidence in this wave count. Within intermediate wave 3, no second wave corrective movement can move above its start at 25.264. Additionally, if price moves below the end of primary wave B within cycle wave 2 at 19.909, there will be added confidence in this wave count, as it is the invalidation for the alternate wave count. On the alternate weekly chart, cycle wave 2 is seen to be over at this low, with cycle wave 3 now moving up for overlapping third waves at minute, minor, intermediate, primary, and cycle degree. Primary wave 3 is expected to move price higher with a target calculated at 31.12, the 1.618 Fibonacci ratio of primary wave 1. Above that, cycle wave 3 has a target calculated at 46.82, the 1.618 Fibonacci ratio of cycle wave 1. Overlapping third waves at these degrees should be unmistakable and should come with increased range and momentum. There is a base channel drawn around primary movements from the beginning of primary wave 1 to the end of primary wave 2, with a copy on the end of primary wave 1. Primary wave 3 should break through resistance, and if that happens, there will be confidence in this wave count. No corrective movement within primary wave 3 can move below its start at 19.909. On the alternate daily chart, the end of primary wave 2, just over here, we can see intermediate wave 1 subdivides well as a complete impulse with an extended third wave. Intermediate wave 2, a double zigzag. Now with minute waves 1 and 2 within minor wave 3 over here and here. Minute wave 2 may continue somewhat lower, though it cannot move below the start of minute wave 1. Minute wave 3 has a target calculated at 27.04, the 1.618 Fibonacci ratio of minute wave 1. For intermediate wave 3, no second wave corrective movement can move below its start at 22.118. At this point, with minute wave 2 within minor wave 3 expected to be over at this low, minute wave 3 minor wave 3, intermediate wave 3, and primary wave 3 are expected to push price much higher, with primary wave 3 breaking through resistance on this base channel. On the technical weekly chart, price has moved away from resistance at 24.5 with a strong bearish candlestick and a shooting star pattern as it found resistance here. This candlestick pattern could be seen as an evening star, though because this bearish candlestick covers the body of the star, it is less than ideal, and this has been labeled a shooting star. Volume declines as price moves away from resistance. On balance, volume has found resistance at previous support, giving a bearish signal. ADX is declining, showing no clear trend, with RSI and money flow both neutral and stochastics neutral. ATR is quite choppy with an overall bearish slope, declining as price consolidates, which is standard movement. And on the main daily chart, price has moved down, finding resistance at 25.4 and since moving down below resistance at 24.5. Volume profile is overall bearish with some pushes on bearish candlesticks, though declining as price now falls of its own weight. On balance, volume has no new range and no signal. ADX is declining, showing no clear trend, with RSI and money flow both neutral and stochastics neutral and declining. ATR overall declines as price consolidates, which is standard movement, increasing slightly as price continues to move down. As ADX declines, we use a model of stochastics and support and resistance. With stochastics declining and neutral and price moving down towards support, we may find support at 22, where price reaches support and stochastics may reach oversold. That's all for me with your update for silver. If you're interested in the gold analysis, there should be a link in the description below, and I hope everyone has a good weekend.